الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم اغفر وارحم وتجاوز عما تعلم إنك أنت الأعز الأكرم. اللهم اجعل هذا القرآن الكريم نور صدورنا وربيع قلوبنا وجلاء أحزاننا وذهاب همومنا. اللهم علمنا منه ما جهلنا وذكرنا منه ما نسينا، واجعله اللهم حجة لنا لا حجة علينا. وبعد, dear brothers and sisters, listeners and viewers, we continue with the Tafseer of Surat Yusuf as it appeared in Al-Quran Al-Kareem. We arrived, if you remember from last week, we mentioned that the king saw a dream and he was seeking interpretation for his dream, but no one around him in his palace knew what it meant. Then the one who left prison and survived, one of the two who were imprisoned with Yusuf, alayhi salatu wassalam, he remembered Yusuf, and then he went to Yusuf. He narrated the dream to him. He told him the dream of the king, and then Yusuf immediately interpreted the dream, which meant that Egypt will go through famine for 7 years, and before that there will be 7 good years where people should work extremely hard, harvest the grains, leave them in the ears and in the husk, and eat only a little bit during the good 7 years, and then there will be 7 years that will يَأْكُلْنَ مَا قَدَّمْتُمْ لَهُنْ. The 7 years, as in the expression of Al-Quran, the 7 years will eat what you have saved for them in the previous 7 good years. Hence the 7 fat cows and 7 lean or skinny cows, and the 7 skinny cows eat the 7 fat cows, and then the green ears of wheat and the dry ears of wheat. So that was the interpretation. Now, the good thing that this will prepare the country for what is to come, rather than not knowing at all what's going to happen, and then it is drought, and then people would have suffered enormously. So the king was very impressed, of course, and he asked Yusuf to leave the prison and come to him, but Yusuf refused. And he said that, ask the women, ما بال النسوة اللاتي قطعن أيديهن إن ربي بكيدهن عليم. Ask the women who cut their hands. Allah knows their plots. So the king, if you like, talked to these women and asked them, ما خطبكن إذ راوتن يوسف عن نفسه. What is your affair when you did seek to seduce Yusuf? Then they announced his innocence and that he did nothing wrong, and then the wife of Al-Aziz volunteered to tell the truth. قالت امرأة العزيز ما علمنا عليه من سوء. So قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق. The women, they said they didn't know anything bad about Yusuf, and then the wife of Al-Aziz, of the treasurer or the minister of treasury, he said, الآن حصحص الحق. Now the truth is manifest, it is clear, it is obvious, it can be seen. And then he said, أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين. It was me who did this, and he is telling the truth, and he is innocent. Of course, I mean, at the end of the day, nothing really happened. So, albeit she is admitting that he did no guilt, but it means that she also didn't do anything wrong. She tried to seduce Yusuf. That is what she did wrong, but nothing consequent or resultant to that happened. Now, last week, I promised to verses 52 and 53. I did treat them for interpretation, but I said, by the will of Allah, if we are okay until next week, then I will tell you something more about them. So I want to tell you more about these two ayat, but before that, I'd like to read some more verses from Surat Yusuf. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قال ما خطبكن إذ راوتن يوسف عن نفسه قلنا حاش لله ما علمنا عليه من سوء قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق أنا راودته قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين وما أبرئ نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي إن ربي غفور رحيم وقال الملك ائتوني به أستخلصه لنفسي فلما كلمه قال إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم وكذلك مكنا ليوسف في الأرض يتبوأ منها حيث يشاء نصيب برحمتنا من نشاء ولا نضيع أجر المحسنين ولأجر الآخرة خير للذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون وجاء إخوة يوسف فدخلوا عليه فعرفهم وهم له منكرون ولما جهزهم بجهازهم قال ائتوني بأخ لكم من أبيكم ألا ترون أني أوفي الكيل وأنا خير المنزلين فإن لم تأتوني به فلا كيل لكم عندي ولا تقربون قالوا سنراود عنه أباه وإنا لفاعلون وقال لفتيانه اجعلوا بضاعتهم في رحالهم لعلهم يعرفونها إذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم لعلهم يرجعون فلما رجعوا إلى أبيهم قالوا يا أبانا منع منا الكيل فأرسل معنا أخانا نكتل وإنا له لحافظون قال هل آمنكم عليه إلا كما أمنتكم على أخيه من قبل فالله خير حافظا وهو أرحم الراحمين ولما فتحوا متاعهم وجدوا بضاعتهم ردت إليهم قالوا يا أبانا ما نبغي هذه بضاعتنا ردت إلينا ونمير أهلنا ونحفظ أخانا ونزداد كيل بعير ذلك كيل يسير قال لن أرسله معكم حتى تؤتون موثقا من الله لتأتونني به إلا أن يحاط بكم فلما آتوه موثقهم قال الله على ما نقول وكيل وقال يا بني لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة وما أغني عنكم من الله من شيء إن الحكم إلا لله أمر ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه ذلك الدين القيم وما أغني عنكم من الله من شيء إن الحكم إلا لله عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل المتوكلون ولما دخلوا من حيث أمرهم أبوهم ما كان يغني عنهم من الله من شيء إلا حاجة في نفس يعقوب قضاها وإنه لذو علم لما علمناه ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. Just for your reference, if you want to follow my reading, I read from verse 51 to verse 68. 51 to verse 68. So we go back to ayah number 52. ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين. Then Joseph said, I asked for this inquiry, or I asked in order that, and indeed, let me just, because sometimes the brackets and the parentheses during the tafsir and during the translation is just extra information when you are reading the translation to give you more information. But let us try to imitate the Arabic text. Because my point is really to do with the way the Arabic text is really formed. ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين. ذلك, it means that is. Yeah, so that is something which has to refer to something else. ليعلم, so as he knows that I have not betrayed him in secret. Okay? In order that he may know that I betrayed him not in secret, and verily Allah guides not the plot of the betrayers. So that is more or less the rough translation of the text. And why I'm just going over it, because the pronoun, there is a pronoun here, and we call it ضمير غائب, hidden pronoun. So that could have been anyone. Anyone could have said that, yeah, within the story, of course. But there is a rule in the Arabic language that the hidden pronoun is referenced to the nearest person, to the nearest person, or the fa'il, the acting person within the previous text, and the pronoun should refer to it. That is the general rule, but also that sometimes it can go to the person before. So the pronoun in this ayah, in this verse number 52, there is a pronoun, and it goes back to someone. Now this someone, the nearest someone, is the wife of Al-Aziz, the wife of the Minister of Treasury, because she was saying before, the ayah before, قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين. So now she's saying that the truth is coming out. It was me who tried to seduce him, and he is telling the truth. And then it says ذلك ليعلم. Then this ayah comes after. So the strongest possibility, if you wish, is that it is referenced to the wife of Al-Aziz, to the woman who tried to seduce Yusuf. So what is she saying? She is saying, so if that pronoun is reference to her, then the ayah is saying that ذَلِكَ لِيَعْلَمْ, I'm saying that now, so as he, that is my husband, again, لِيَعْلَمَ, there is another pronoun. So there is the pronoun of the talking person, and there is a pronoun that the person, a hidden pronoun that a person also is referenced. And this is really the if you like, the essence of tafsir. This is the essence of interpretation of the Quran, and this is one of the major skills that if someone possesses, then they will be able to understand Quran even better. So in a nutshell, because of this pronoun, hidden pronoun, etc., and because of the general rule, then it is reference to the wife of Al-Aziz. So she is saying that, so as my husband knows that I have not cheated on him, I have not betrayed him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the plot of the betrayers. And then again, ayah number 53 is the same. وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي. It continues. So if we take it that it is the wife of Al-Aziz is saying that, then the other ayah is also the wife of Al-Aziz. وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي, and I free not myself from blame. Verily the human self is inclined to evil, except when my Lord bestows his mercy upon whom he wills. Verily my Lord is oft forgiving, most merciful. So that could be all the what the wife of Al-Aziz is saying. So she's saying, yes, it was me, and so as my husband knows that I betrayed him not, and then she says, I don't free myself from blame, and so on. Last week I said that also, and this is, for example, Ibn Taymiyyah, he said this is stronger because the seduction was initiated by her. For Yusuf to say that, to attribute this saying to Yusuf is a little bit far from the flow of the text, although it is a possibility, because also Yusuf is humble and he just wants everybody to be freed of blame. He wants everybody to to be off the hook, if you like. He wanted himself to be vindicated. So did he wish that for all the others who were part of the plot, the women and the wife of Al-Aziz. And that's what I said last week when I attributed ayah number 52 and 53 as part of what Yusuf was saying. And that you will find that in Ibn Jarir al-Tabari and other tafsirs. But then also you can say the nearest person speaking was the wife of Al-Aziz, and this comes immediately after. And so it is more appropriate, perhaps, as some of the scholars made it more appropriate, and they lent towards that interpretation more. And I also say that there is the beauty of that pronoun not being so clear is it gives a generality of the statement. Yes, it is obvious that the wife of Al-Aziz would have said that, and she should have said that for sure. And also maybe it's less obvious that Yusuf would say that, but then that reflects his moral behavior and high moral character of wanting good for himself and for all the people. He wanted to teach people and lead by example how a young chap with all the opportunities to do something such as this and refrains and chooses to go to prison for several years, as we mentioned previously, فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ, and not to do that. So he wants to give a lesson. He wants to be our role model. He wants to teach. He's a prophet. And these people are not following his religion. They are worshipping idols. They are worshipping idols beside God. They are not on the straight path of Tawheed, to worship Allah and Allah alone. And he wants to teach them with all the methods he has, by interpreting the dream, by not wanting to leave the prison until he is vindicated, and also saying, if we attribute the sayings in verse 52 and 53 to Yusuf, then it would be really humbling himself and teaching others that very supreme moral conduct a prophet who is a son of a prophet and a grandson of a prophet and a great grandson of a prophet would do anyway. So anyway, please understand that I don't mean that to confuse you. It is much straightforward, or it's more straightforward than that. But if you look closely, and that is what they call tadabbur, contemplate, really read more and more, the generality of the text with the pronoun not really clear whether it is reference to Yusuf or to the nearest speaker, who was the wife of Al-Aziz, gives it even more meaning. It gives it an extra zeal of meaning within the same text. So you could read it and you say, yeah, that's what she would say. She is telling Yusuf is innocent, and also she was not innocent in trying to seduce Yusuf. She admitted to that, but nothing happened, and she wanted her husband to know that nothing really happened, because doubt is always in the minds. And then she would claim that it is part of the weakness of humans, etc. But also Yusuf would have said that in a sense to teach others. So please do understand that. And when you read in the Quran, you need to understand the pronoun, the reference of the pronoun. That makes a lot of meaning and a lot of contemplation in trying to understand the text of Al-Quran. Okay, If we move in, this is one thing, and I'm also tempted to say something else. وقال الملك ائتوني به أستخلصه لنفسي فلما كلمه قال إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين. This is verse number 54. This is new. I have not treated it last week. So what it says, and the king said, bring him to me that I may attach him to my person. أستخلصه لنفسي. Then when he spoke to him, to Yusuf, he said, verily this day you are with us high in rank and fully trusted. Just imagine this position of Yusuf now, from the warmth of his dad's lab to the depth of the well and darkness of the well, and from that to the life of slavery. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a master. His master was a kind master who asked his wife to look after him. So he was, generally speaking, treated very well. But then this incident of the wife of the Al-Aziz, and then his accusation, and then he was in prison for several years. And then from prison, now he is in the presence of the king, who wants to give him a high rank. He wants to use him. And here it says, أستخلصه لنفسي. أستخلصه, it is really, it's like to purify something. Al-istikhlas, it means that to take something from something else, to purify it, to make it, and then to make him for himself. And the kings always wanted to possess precious things. If they hear about a precious stone which weighs so much, they would go all the lengths to get it. At that time, if they hear about a doctor, or if they hear about anything which is of importance and essence, they wanted really to possess it. And he says, أستخلصه لنفسي. I want him. So if he was to work, he is going to report directly to the king, rather than to tell him, okay, you can be wherever with someone else, you report to your manager, etc. But no, the king himself wanted Yusuf for himself. He wanted him as a, if you like, a consultant. He wanted him for a job. Maybe he didn't think what sort of job, because he saw from Yusuf the ability to interpret dreams, and he saw a person with high moral conduct, a person who was very unique in behavior, and looking at the person, he is very faithful and he is very sincere. Qualities that you would really look for in people to employ. فلما كلمه قال إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين. Makin, the word makin is, if you like, an exaggerated form from makan, and makan is the space, is the position. So you have makin, you have a, if you like, a strong position with us. You have your foot are deep in that position. You will not be moved away from it, and Amin, which is trusted. So he realized that trustworthiness from Yusuf, alayhi salatu wassalam, which is a quality if you want to employ anyone at all. This element of Amin is extremely important, because that person could be very highly skilled. But then if you can't trust these people, if you can't trust a plumber or a builder or electrician or a mechanic or a teacher or a doctor or anybody of these, they may be the best in what they do. If you don't have that trust in them, that they will apply themselves sincerely and in a trusted manner, then their skill may not really be of a great benefit. You'd rather use someone who's less skilled and be trusted rather than the best in the craft, and then you can't really trust. You may not trust them in what they're going to do for you or charge you. So that is extremely. We'll come to that in a bit, but I want to talk about the use of the word al-Malik here. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي بِهِ. Al-Malik is the king. We are talking about Egypt, and you may even find in books that they may reference the king during the time of Yusuf as a pharaoh, but that would be a mistake. So if you are a historian, if you read other texts in other books, religious or otherwise, then here the Quran is using the word king, and the word king is a title. So as pharaoh, a pharaoh is a title, it's not a name. It's like Caesar, also Hercules. These are all titles. Muqawqas for Egypt, also there were titles, and in different countries, the Romans had titles, the Persians had titles, and in old time and in recent time, people had titles. And king is one of the titles. Of course, king is very well known, and it's used today, king and queen. So if you read in Al-Quran, you will find that, for example, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, Moses, the prophet of Allah and a great messenger of Allah, was sent to save the Israelites who were treated very badly during the time of a particular pharaoh of that time, to take them out of Egypt by the command of Allah. So all the references there, if you read the communication and the discussions between Musa, then you will find that the Pharaoh, وقال فرعون وقال فرعون وقال فرعون وقال فرعون ما أريكم إلا ما أرى وما أهديكم إلا سبيل الرشاد وقال فرعون ذروني أقتل موسى وليدعو ربه. It's all a reference across the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. So all the time when talking about the man in charge, or let us say between brackets, the king of Egypt during the time of Musa, his title was not a king, his title was a pharaoh. Fir'aun, in Arabic, Fir'aun. So that was the title. And who was that Fir'aun? Some they say he was Ramses II, some they say other than that, but he was a pharaoh. Now here, Yusuf, as we know, is well before Musa alayhi salatu wasalam in time. There are decades, if not thousands of years between Yusuf and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. May Allah have his blessings and upon them and upon Moses, Joseph, and upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So why it's saying here Al-Malik? If you really look very closely, you will find that era was not the dynasty of the pharaohs. So that was a different dynasties. Some they say they were Hyksos, from the Hyksos, who are the giants. Some they say they were the kings at that time. They were from the Canaanites, who were ruling also or inhabiting Palestine. And some they say they may have been even he may have been an Arab king. But all in all, notice that he is referred to as a king, not as a pharaoh, because that was a different dynasty. It was not the dynasty of the pharaohs, which were during the time of the messenger of Allah, Musa, peace and blessing be upon him. Anyway, that if you are a historian, if you are interested in that sort of thing, you can research it, you can have a look, and let us know if you have any feedback. We'd like to hear from you. But this is I'm really convinced that it is a different dynasty. It is not a dynasty of the pharaohs. It is a dynasty of kings, and that king was from a different dynasty, from the dynasty of the pharaoh of Musa عليه الصلاة والسلام. قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. Okay, so then now the king, he asked for Yusuf to leave the prison. He really appreciated the quality that Yusuf had, and he was so convinced about the interpretation of the dream. And now, if you like, it is, if that dream comes true, if the king, and surely the king believed that the interpretation for sure, otherwise he would not have praised Yusuf that much, and he would not have hastened to really ask for Yusuf to leave prison and to really look into what the women did, etc. So he really entertained all the requests, if you like, that Yusuf made upon, at the end of the day, the king. These requests were made to the king, because the king wanted him out of the prison in the first place, and he refused to leave. Yusuf refused to leave until he is totally vindicated. So there is no conviction, and it is not a royal pardon, as I said last week. So now the king is really saying, إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين. Verily, this day you are with us, high in rank and fully trusted. مكين أمين. So you have the position and you have the trust. And the trust here, Amin, is a mutual thing. So if you trust someone, it comes from you to them, but you know that they also trust you. So trust is not, it's not one-sided. It is really both sides. And for sure, the king, he said that we trust you. We have our trust in you, and you are faithful, and you are trustworthy. So Amin is one word, but it means so much, that the trust is coming from the king towards Yusuf, and then the king is saying that you are trustworthy. Then Yusuf says, قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. So now, and this is really something that people say, can you really, in Islam, we are not encouraged to seek the high positions, the positions where people are in charge, generally speaking. That's a general rule. But it is not a rule that is consistent all the time. Generally, people should be chosen to high ranks in the governments, to rule, etc. They should be chosen. They should be selected. They should be elected. They should be proposed. They should be put forth. Because when people know about someone, they know about their qualities. They know about their personal conduct and skills, soft and otherwise, knowledge, experience. Then, and even today, high ranks are usually headhunted. In my experience, in my industry, people are headhunted because to get to a CTO or a CEO level. Of course, you apply for it, but generally speaking, you people will just call you because you are well known in that area. You have a profile that they seek, and it's very unique profile. They will not find hundreds of people to fit to be to lead a company or to lead the technical part of the company, you know, CEO, CFO, COO, you know, all these top ranking. And of course, you could say more about governments, but of course, we have a different system here. But here, Yusuf now volunteered to say what his skills are. And I think it is very appropriate because the king is adamant and he wants Yusuf. He wants him in his royal court. He wants him part of if you like, his government or governing powers. So instead of leaving it to the king, who may know a little bit of Yusuf, but Yusuf knows more about himself for sure. Then Yusuf volunteered to say what his skills were. قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. Yusuf said, set me over the, and by the way, here an example of this pronoun we talked about. But this is very obvious because it is the king talking to Yusuf. And this is a reply. قال, he said. It didn't say Yusuf said. It said قال. Because who else? If the king is addressing Yusuf, so who else is going to reply to the king? It would be Yusuf. So Quran will not use unnecessary words or wordings or extra sentences or definitions, and they leave it to the situation and the circumstances and the context. If they can be understood from there, then they are left like that. قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض. I elaborate, but I think it is very important in Al-Quran, if you are reading Al-Quran, to be aware of what they call عودة الضمير in the usul al-tafsir, in the fundamentals of interpreting of the Quran, the science of interpretation. One of them is to understand where the pronoun goes. What is the reference for that pronoun? Yusuf said, set me over the storehouses of the land. I will indeed guard them with full knowledge, as a minister of finance in Egypt in place of Al-Aziz, who was dead at that time. Now this, what I've just said, I'm reading to you because this is translation. And when you read translation, you need to be very careful. Because here between the parentheses, they are not a translation of the text. Indeed, this is tafsir. This is interpretation. And that interpretation it depends. So if we stick again to the wording of what Yusuf said, قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. Set me over the storehouses of the land, I will indeed guard them with full knowledge. This is not necessarily the job of Al-Aziz. And here it says that Al-Aziz is dead. But then if ayah number 52 is talking about ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب, if the wife of Al-Aziz is saying that, so as my husband knows that I have not betrayed him behind him, then he should be alive. I mean, if he was dead, what use is of that? So anyway, these are left from the text. And when you read on, then the story unfolds in a way that is different if you try to specify things at the very beginning. So at the beginning, in my opinion, Yusuf only wanted to be, if you like, the store managers, the storage of food, because in kingdoms like Egypt, it was, if you like, a super power of the time, and it was very well organized. And one of the things is the food. And even today and tomorrow and until the last day on earth, food is very important. You may have all the technologies in the world, but if you don't have food to eat, you will not live long to use the technology. And these people had a system to store. So indeed, they had storage system as we do, and as during the COVID-19 there were some issues, because if restaurants are closed, if for example, then the restaurants consumed a lot of ingredients, and they some of these ingredients are chilled, some are frozen, some are simply stored dried. And if they're not using it and there was deliveries, then the store is overwhelmed and it is overfull. And that actually, it happened a few weeks back, and I myself was not aware of that until I saw it in the news. So they had a system of storing food, but for sure, as I am sure here, we don't have a system to store food for 7 years. No way. Why? Maybe a buffer of 6 months, maybe a buffer of 12 months. It depends, but not for 7 years. And here, so Yusuf volunteered to be responsible for the food of Egypt, for storage, distribution, and so on. Now, if you think about it, so in some people say, you should not really put yourself forward. But here, Yusuf put himself forward for the most difficult job you can imagine. It is not a job that people will seek. During good times, people want to be whatever they like to be. If you were asked to be a CEO on top of a company, leading a company which is doing extremely well, just a little bit of expansion, a little bit, open branches in this country or the other, you'll be over the moon, because, you are already leading a company that is doing well. Although, of course, people with skill like to leave their fingerprints. They like to leave leave something. You can't just come and just run a company that was running anyway. Where is the input into that? So Yusuf, but if you are elected to lead a company that is really falling apart, making a huge loss in money, and in this case your salary may not be even that huge, because you are leading something making loss rather than making a profit, then it needs a lot of skill, it needs a lot of dedication, it needs a lot of sincerity. You need to be really looking into the affairs of others rather than how much you can make yourself. And that was Yusuf. So Yusuf believed in the dream. He interpreted, for sure. He knew that this will come true. So it needs a man with skill and ability to harvest during these 7 years, to make sure that people do extra work during the good 7 years, and then the consumption should be should not be extravagant, rather than it should be just to fulfill the need, and then store for these 7 famine years, 7 hard years to come. So Yusuf indeed asked for the most difficult job you can imagine, but he wanted to help people. He wanted to be instrumental in the salvation of people, the satisfaction of their needs during the hard time of the 7 years. So when you read that, don't say Yusuf put himself forward, because he was asked to be with the king, and the king could have given him an easier task, a task, as I said, somewhere that is working, somewhere that is not going to be challenging. But for Yusuf to be over the storehouses of the land, of the whole land, not just, it's, and we will know that Egypt was really a place where it provided food to the countries and the regions around it, not just for Egypt itself, as we will learn a little bit later in the story. Inni hafidun alim. Hafid, alim, Alim means I am knowledgeable, I have the knowledge. There are two skills, and you'll find that in the Quran, in this position, for example, Hafidun Alim. Alim is the knowledge, and Hafid is the trustworthiness. So you need the two parts of any job to be skillful in doing the job. So that is for sure is needed. So you have the knowledge, you have the degree, you have the experience to do the job. Fantastic. But that is not enough. You need to be trustworthy. You need to have, if you like, this and other soft skills. Some jobs, they may need internet working, social contacts, they need some sort of persona, you know. If you are in negotiations, you need to be able to negotiate with people, not getting on the wrong side of any one of them. Each job, it needs these parts. The knowledge part, which may come from a degree, experience, etc., and the interpersonal skills, that is including being trustworthy, telling the truth, being prompt on time, etc., etc. So it is summed in these two words. And the same in Surat Al-Qasas, يا أبت استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. That is in the story of Shu'aib and Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, when he fled Egypt after by mistake killing a man. Then he fled, and then he helped two women, and one of them, and then he met their father, or father Shu'aib, and then one of them, she said to her dad, use him, give him a job. إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. The strong, because the job needed at that time was the strength, and Amin is being trustworthy. And anyone who's listening to me, any job, if you want to think of what you need, these are the two skills. One is knowledge, and one is personal, which is the interpersonal skills. وكذلك مكنا ليوسف في الأرض يتبوأ منها حيث يشاء نصيب برحمتنا من نشاء ولا نضيع أجر المحسنين ولا أجر الآخرة خير للذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. Just imagine this boy who was snatched from his loving dad's lap into the depth of the well, into slavery, into a prison, and now he is to choose any job he wants to do with the king. And sorry, by the way, also I want to say that it doesn't mean that Yusuf did not become Al-Aziz. But whether or not that was the position of Al-Aziz then, no one can be sure. Because Yusuf, for sure, he said, اجعلني على خزائن الأرض. It's storage management, collection of the production, storing it properly, and distributing it. So that was the job he was after. But then Al-Aziz has got the capacity of this and more. And for sure, later on, Yusuf became Al-Aziz. But whether or not that was the job of Al-Aziz, that the minister of Treasury, I very much doubt it. And there is nothing to indicate that. So he actually started with this and may have very quickly been promoted to the position of the first minister, Al-Aziz, or the minister of Treasury, and so on. So he came out of prison, the several years of imprisonment, into being anywhere he likes. Thus did we give full authority to Yusuf in the land to take possession therein, as when or where he likes. We bestow of our mercy on whom we please, and we make not to be lost the reward of al-muhsinin, the good doers. Dear brothers and sisters, just know that after hardship, there is always ease. After bad time, there is good time. What you need to do is be with your Lord all the time. Attach your heart to your Creator. Be faithful to Allah, the Almighty, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be patient of what you are in today, because you never know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward you tomorrow. And that was this very evident in the story of Yusuf, a story of a patient young chap who really held very highly his moral beliefs. All his beliefs were above and over anything else. He did not care, but he really was looking to maintain and keep his beliefs, his moral conduct that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he was min al-muhsinin. Al-ihsan, as again I remind you, defined as أن تعبد الله كأنك ترى فإن لم تكن ترى فإنه يراك. To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you see Allah. So you will do your very, very best. But of course you don't see Allah, but you should know that Allah sees you and hears you all the time. And that was Yusuf. Nothing changed him. Not the well, not the palace, not the seduction, not his beauty, not the prison. Nothing changed him. He was the same person all the way through. He was min al-muhsinin, from the good doers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. We shall not waste the reward of the good doers. So if you think you are doing and you are doing and you are doing and you are exerting effort and no one is being thankful and nothing is coming back, be patient. The most important thing is to do it for the sake of Allah and for the sake of Allah alone, and ask Allah alone to reward you. Do not ask anyone else to appreciate or to reward or to say thank you or to be grateful. Most of the time people are ungrateful, but you don't do it for them. You do it to help them, yes, but you do it for the sake of Allah Almighty. وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ. So that was his fast reward in this world, in this dunya, because the life on earth is very, very limited. But then it is rewarded, and Yusuf now is being rewarded. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. And verily the reward of the hereafter is better for those who believe and used to fear Allah and keep their duty to Him by abstaining from all the kinds of sins and evil deeds and by performing all kinds of righteous good deeds. وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. I will come to this, but very, very quickly. This world, if you are if it is doing good for you, there are two possibilities. If you have knowledge or money or position, that you may lose that during your life, or even if that stays, you may leave it behind by passing away. But in the hereafter, it is permanent, and you don't leave it, and you don't lose it. And if you think that this is the end of the story, that Yusuf reached that position and that is the happy ending, yes, it is happy, but it is not yet the ending. And I'd love to see you, inshallah, next week and the coming weeks, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me a long life. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you attending, and may Allah accept your fasting and your salah. And please do your very best in the last 2 or so days today and tomorrow, maybe also Saturday, maybe Ramadan, and tonight is the night of the 29th. Still is a possibility of the night of Al-Qadr. Don't relent. It is not the time to slack. Just keep with it, inshallah. May Allah reward you, and inshallah we'll see you very soon. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.